I'm Becky Mayer, and welcome to Transitions, Body, Mind, Spirit. Transitions, how do you transition in life? I like to use the metaphor of triathlons. That's something I do, and I've had many guests who are triathletes. But at first you start swimming, and then you go to a transition area, and then you get on your bike, and then you go to a transition area, and then you run. And that is a metaphor for life. We have so many parts of our lives, things are different. And I love to have guests that have changed things in their lives. And also, today we have a special guest that not only changes things in her life, but the life of cats and dogs, animals that we love so much. And I do want to tell the story. The reason I met Natalie is that I had little feral kittens on my front porch. In fact, I had them this morning. And I was beside myself on what to do and got on a website and found out, and that's how Natalie got to be here. So Natalie, please introduce yourself and introduce the name of the nonprofit that I guess you created. Am I correct?
Yes, our nonprofit is called Pet Community Center. I'm the CEO, and there are a group of us that founded it in 2011. Mm-hmm. The reason that we founded the organization was in response to pet overpopulation and the high number of animals that have to be euthanized at our shelter here in Nashville. Mm-hmm. And so we started to focus on solutions to pet overpopulation, and spay-neuter is really the most powerful tool that we have to prevent animals from becoming homeless. So we started out by offering low-cost and free spay-neuter to pet dogs and cats, and we quickly discovered that there was a really big need for spay-neuter of cats that are unowned. They live outdoors. Some people will call them alley cats or neighborhood cats or feral cats. Mm-hmm. And if they live outside, they qualify for our program. It's called Feline Fix. So we help people spay and neuter outdoor cats and help them deal with issues surrounding the cats living in their neighborhood. So if they're causing nuisance issues, or they just want them to stop reproducing and help take better care of the cats, that's what we help folks to do. Mm-hmm.
I see. Well, my own personal experience with feral cats, all of a sudden there's a bunch of cats. And part of it is like, is this a feral cat or is this somebody's cat? A new neighbor had moved in, and she had like a 12-year-old cat that is an outdoor cat. And well, all the neighbors were like, that poor cat, but it's an outdoor cat. And it wasn't homeless, just was outdoors. But it's confusing to see. My question is, with a feral cat that is homeless or left, it's confusing who takes care of it. And if you capture it and it gets neutered and you put it back on the street, does that mean that for me, I would think, well, okay, I need to feed it now, and it's kind of my cat, but I really didn't want it. What is the solution for that?
Well, one of the terms that's been developed in animal welfare is the term community cat. And that kind of refers to any cat that lives outdoors. And we kind of just treat if they live outside, or even if they just step foot outside, we kind of treat them the same. And the method that we use is called trap, neuter, return. So sometimes we have to trap the cats because they're not socialized to people. You can't just go pick them up. So we use humane live traps in order to trap them. They get fixed, and then they get returned where they came from. So if for some reason they are somebody's pet and they don't have identification, if we ever trap an animal that has identification, we also have a microchip scanner, we quickly return them back to their home. But if we're unable to tell if they're somebody's pet, they will most likely return home, because it's the process of this program is they go back where they came from. So, and cats have a very strong homing instinct, so their instinct is to return back to where they live. So, when there is question about whether or not it's an owned pet, or maybe it's loosely owned or cared for by somebody in the neighborhood, we know that they're going to go back where they came from. So the most important thing is a lot of times they don't realize, we don't know if it's a stray cat or if it's somebody's cat or if it's a homeless cat. And we just encourage them to go ahead and get them fixed, because if you don't get them fixed, the one thing we can promise you is that you will have more cats, and most people don't want to see the continuation of the cycle of kittens being born year after year after year. And taking those kittens to the shelter creates a really big burden on our city shelter and the nonprofit shelters and rescues in the area. Most kittens that are born every year come from outdoor cats, so that's why we're really focused on educating the public about it's okay if you see a cat outside, go ahead and bring it to us and we'll help you get it fixed.
So in my real life situation with these two little kittens that I feed, and then my own personal cat hates them, who's an indoor cat, I'm going, I can capture them, take them to your nonprofit, and then you fix them. Does it take a day to be fixed? And then I pick them up from wherever you tell me and then bring them back to my house.
Right, so they're trapped, and then normally we take them to a vet clinic on Mondays, and then they recover for 24 hours, and then they go back outside. And that's a little bit shorter recovery period than you would see for a pet cat, which you would normally keep inside, you know, and kind of confine them for a week or so. But with feral cats, it's very stressful for them to be confined, and really they're most comfortable outdoors, and we've had a really high success rate of cats doing very well after surgery. All the clinics that we use have a very high quality protocol, so they're getting the same quality surgery that a pet cat would get, but they have dissolvable sutures, so they don't have to go back to have the sutures removed. And then the one thing that we always do is we tip the left ear. So
when you say tip, what's that mean?
When they're under anesthesia for the surgery, they actually remove the tip of the left ear. And so it's kind of, we sort of compare it to getting your ear pierced for a person. The cat never really realizes that it happens, but it's a universal identification tool that anyone from animal control or a shelter or a veterinarian or anybody who knows about community cat trap, neuter, return is aware of. So if you see a cat out in the public, you know that cat's been fixed, and most likely somebody is caring for it, feeding it, and kind of watching after it.
So in my situation, does this cost me any money if I take the two kitties and have them fixed?
Well, we do ask folks who bring cats to help contribute towards the cost of surgery. So our cost per cat is about $35.
Okay.
And in Davidson County, we do have financial aid for people who, that sometimes it's a burden. A lot of people call us and they say, I have 10 cats or 15 cats or 20 cats that are in the area. So obviously those costs add up very quickly. So we just ask them, make a donation of whatever you can and we'll help you with the rest. And a minimum of $10 per cat in Davidson County. Outside of Davidson County, we ask folks to contribute the full amount just because our resources are somewhat limited. But we do have 2 zip codes in Davidson County that we're really focusing on right now. We've seen a lot of requests for assistance from those areas, so we applied for grants from Best Friends Animal Society and PetSmart Charities. So in Inglewood, which is 37216, and Old Hickory, which is 37138, we do have free surgeries available for outdoor cats in those 2 zip codes right now.
Wow. So if I get these 2 little kitties taken care of and I bring them back, then I kind of have a responsibility to feed them, correct?
Well, a lot of times if the cat comes to us in good condition, we know that it's finding a food source somewhere. So
me lately.
Yeah, it may be the person who contacted us, and a lot of times there's another neighbor who's feeding the cats, or they have some other source of food that they have access to. So if the person's already feeding the cats, we encourage them to continue. If they weren't feeding them, we do try to identify who is feeding the cats, because it's much more successful when we do, in terms of getting the cats trapped and also future management and care of those cats. We do kind of like to have somebody watching over them.
Part of me doesn't want to put the cats outside. Part of me wants to take these little kitties and have a real forever home and be indoors and not risk being run over by cars and all that. Is there any resource that, okay, these are fixed, they're really cute, would somebody like to get them?
Well, a lot of times we will, when we work with smaller kittens, they're easier to tame. So kittens under 8 to 12 weeks, a lot of times we can work with those kittens, and the person who feeds them, we can loan them a crate so they can bring the cats inside, socialize them, and then we can also help them connect with our rescue partners who can help find them homes. And then a lot of times we do find, we call them cat colonies. Sometimes they'll be mixed with cats that are tame and cats that are more feral. So sometimes we're able to get the tame adult cats into rescues as well. With the older cats, once they're over, 4 months or so, it's really difficult to tame them. It's not impossible, but it takes a lot of time and resources, and a lot of people aren't really willing to put in that time. The rescues in particular, they're overwhelmed and flooded with requests for help with perfectly tame and healthy cats. So they just simply don't have the resources to take in cats that aren't tame yet. So if the person feeding the cats or the person who found them is able to work with them, we can usually help them find a way to get them into a home. But since there's so many feral, not really adoptable cats out there, the most humane thing to do is to kind of put them back out where they came from. And we actually, that is their home. They know where to find safety and shelter and food. They know what day the garbage truck comes and the mailman and where the scary dog lives. So they're, they're familiar with their surroundings, and cats are extremely adaptive and smart, and they're great survivors. So they actually do very well after they're fixed. We find cats that are living well over 10, 12 years.
Outdoors. I'm amazed. Well, this particular week has been the Arctic freeze in Nashville, and I was astounded that, well, there were 3 kittens. There's only 2 now, but that they're still alive. And this gray mama cat will come out, and then the little tiny kittens will come out, and I go, God, how could they even survive? How do they survive like -2? And
it is dangerous this time of year. We really encourage people feeding cats to provide some sort of shelter. And this fall, in the fall, we had a workshop where we provided styrofoam coolers, and it's a real easy workshop where you can make a feral cat shelter in about 30 minutes. So anytime somebody requests something like that from us, we try to connect them with resources so they can make an easy, simple cat shelter. And you can even use a dog house. We recommend folks put fresh straw in there because it's the best insulation to keep them really warm. We don't recommend using blankets or towels or anything that can get wet and stay wet or get frozen. So we would definitely encourage people to provide shelter and help the cats stay warm. They make lots of great products now, from outdoor heated houses to even these little warmers you can put in your microwave, so you can put it in the microwave for 5 minutes and it stays warm for 10 hours. So
that's a great idea.
There's a lot of great products out there that we really encourage people to use to help keep the cats warm. And in the summer, lots of fresh water, making sure that they have access to water and shelter and shade and cooler temperatures.
Wow. I know that in my other life, I sell real estate, and I just sold a house in Whites Creek, and the owner called me up and said, I didn't know the house came with a cat. And I said, I wasn't aware of that either. And a homeless cat wandered up, acted as if it'd been there before. And he was happy to be taken in by my new owner, and my owner was very happy, and he left the Germantown area where he had been taking care of a feral cat, but the office next door said, well, we'll take care of him, an outdoor cat. And so, it's kind of like passing the mantle.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and a lot of folks really appreciate having the cats around. We sometimes, in some circumstances, we will rehome cats if they're in a dangerous circumstance where maybe they're it's a dangerous area. And folks love to have barn cats. They're mousers, and they kind of keep the rodent population down. We also had a situation in downtown Nashville, a condo complex where they had removed all the cats at one point, and then they were overrun by rodents and snakes, and they actually reintroduced the cats, and we helped get them all fixed. And now the residents there really care for them and help take care of them because they're sort of playing an important role in the ecosystem
Wow, interesting.
Yeah.
Wow. Now, on a personal note, tell me about your transition. How did you even get involved in this, and what is your background?
Well, I moved to Nashville to get into music, and I got a music degree here. And worked in the music industry for a while, but I just started volunteering. Actually, after I got a job and I got a house, I got a dog and started walking around my neighborhood. And I initially started seeing animals that were sort of languishing and not being well cared for, and so I just started volunteering for various groups, and eventually I started to really understand that there was this really serious pet overpopulation problem, and that's kind of how I got interested in spay-neuter. And I worked for a couple of years out at New Leash on Life, which is a shelter and spay-neuter clinic in Lebanon. And then after that, since I lived in Nashville, I really wanted to see an effort here in Nashville to keep promoting spay-neuter and saving animals. So with a few other dedicated animal lovers, we founded Pet Community Center, and we've been working at this for about 3 years.
Wow, and don't you have a little background in also writing grants?
Yes, so after New Leash on Life, I worked at Girl Scouts and did fundraising. So I worked with a lot of nonprofits and just had a background in administration and fundraising, so that's been very helpful in kind of helping Pet Community Center get a strong footing and growing as a nonprofit and making connections within the community with other nonprofits and people in the community that might have, that we might have similar interests.
And what we're going to do in the credits is show how people can get on your website, and I guess there's a phone number too that people can call. And I wondered if you could show our other guest and explain our other guest here. And if we can get a shot of, what is the name of our guest? Annie. And tell Annie's story. Annie, good kitty. Oh. Annie, your TV debut, poor baby, all these lights. Now tell Annie's story.
Well, Annie came from an apartment complex in East Nashville, where she was a teeny tiny kitten, and we trapped all of the cats at this complex. There were about 30 of them, if I recall. And there were a little group of kittens that came in together that were about 6 weeks old. And so they were young enough that we decided, let's tame them and get them into a rescue. Well, I ended up fostering them, and then of course fell in love with her and her litter mates. We adopted 3 kittens from that litter, and so we weren't sure if she was going to be tameable, so she did get the ear tip. So
now the ear tip, is there any way we can get a close-up of the ear tip by chance? And because I don't know if the camera will show it, but it's kind of hard to see even me just sitting here.
It's not real.
Which ear is it?
This one right
here. I see. Okay. All right. There we go. There's a good one. Excellent. Yeah. He's a little frightened. Yeah.
So we have 2 ear-tipped kitties that are indoor cats, and so they are definitely still adoptable even if they have an ear tip. But she just won over our hearts, so we decided to keep her. And we're grateful to have her in our lives because she's a lot of fun. She's a little bit nervous because she started out life as a wild kitty and became used to being used to people.
Right, beautiful. And you could probably put her back in the home, and I'd like you to show our audience what a kitty trap is. We have one here, and like to see if we could take a look.
Yeah. This is a humane live trap, and the way it works is you set the trap on this side, and there's a little hook right here, and what we normally tell people is, set this trap wherever you normally feed the cats every day. You put a little bit of bait, like cat food or tuna or sardines, at the end of the trap here, and then when the cat steps on the plate, it closes the door, and then they're safely inside. There's a little plate here so you can grab it so you don't get scratched. And then we normally coach people to cover the trap with a towel or a blanket, and then the cat feels like they're hidden and they're not as stressed out because they're not usually used to being approached this closely by people. And then from there, we just, you take the cat to, sometimes folks have to keep them overnight in their garage or their basement, and you can actually feed the cat from inside the trap if you have to keep them overnight, give them a little bit of water.
How do you feed the cat when inside the trap?
What we usually do is just take a little can of wet food and kind of just sneak it in. We kind of just crack the door a little bit. And if the cat is really, really fractious, really upset, and kind of, you don't want to put your hand inside ever.
Right.
If you have any question, just kind of leave it alone overnight. And then we take it to a vet clinic. They are able to sedate it inside the trap and then remove it so that it's already asleep when it comes out, and then they can do the procedure of spaying and neutering it. And then when you take the cat home, there is a back door here, and you just release the back door.
And they're happy to go, I'm sure.
Run away.
They run away.
So we have about 100 of these traps, and we loan them out for free. We coach people on how to use them, best techniques for trapping. Some cats are really smart and they don't want to go in the trap, and some cats will go in the trap over and over and over and over. So we help everybody. We just, coach them through the process, because it's kind of stressful the first time that you try to trap some cats. It's not, an everyday occurrence, but people are very successful at it, and we're happy to help them through it.
Wow. And then you also said that there is maybe going to be your nonprofit is going to be doing something with the city. Are you allowed to mention something about that?
Well, not that part yet, but we can talk about the spay-neuter clinic.
Yes.
Well, we are, this year in 2014, we're going to be opening a low-cost, high-quality spay-neuter clinic.
Spay-neutered clinic, okay, for dogs and cats.
Yes.
Okay, because we've been talking about cats, but dogs are in this picture too.
Exactly, yes. Yeah. Dogs are a big part of pet overpopulation. So we're going to be offering very low-cost surgeries, and we'll be open this spring in 2014. We'll be announcing our exact date soon. We're still working on our renovations and all of our planning for the clinic, but we are well underway, and so anybody can use it. You don't have to qualify, but we are going to focus our efforts. We're going to do a lot of marketing in areas where there are a lot of homeless animals and stray animals, where a lot of the shelter animals are coming from. And we're also going to target populations of animals that are being euthanized a lot in the shelter, like pit bulls and feral cats. So we want to do a lot of spay-neuter in those populations to prevent those animals from, being born accidentally. We have oops litters that happen, and we want to make it really, really easy and affordable for people to get their pets fixed.
And then will you tell our audience, and we'll also have it on the credits, but the best way to reach your organization? Yes,
so you can reach us by phone at 512-5001. That's area code 615, of course.
Okay.
And then we also have a website. It's petcommunitycenter.org.
Petcommunitycenter.org.
Yes.
Okay.
And then on our website, there's a contact us form, and there's also a questionnaire if you're interested in getting spay-neuter services either for a dog or cat. You can just fill that out. It goes directly to one of our schedulers, and then they'll contact you to set up an appointment. And if you have feral cats, they'll walk you through the whole process of how to trap them and get them to us.
Because I got on your website, I filled out the little thing, and I will be definitely using this trap, and I'm going, wow, these little kittens are going to cry and hate me, but it's, and I really, I wish they'd have a forever home rather than be an outdoor cat, because everybody says the outdoor cats are something that, like I have a friend that's ornithologist, and she says, the cat population really hurts the bird population. And so, you go, well, maybe I shouldn't have a cat that's out there all the time.
Well, what we're finding is there's nowhere for these cats to go, and there's also a scientific phenomenon, I suppose, called the vacuum effect. And we estimate, based on human population, there are models that you can use to predict the number of feral cats that live in a community. And there's about 40 to 50,000 feral and outdoor cats in Davidson County alone.
Good Lord, that many?
Yes. So when you
Wow.
trap one cat and move it inside, or if you euthanize it, which is what happens to cats that go to shelters oftentimes, another cat just moves in to take its place. So it's not really a benefit to the birds either, because new cats are coming in. But if we trap and neuter the cats and they go back out, they're not creating new cats or kittens that are being born. And then they're also protecting their territory, keeping new cats from moving in. And if they have a feeder, they're less likely to prey on other wildlife because they're getting food from, a reliable source. So it isn't a perfect solution to that problem, but it really is the most humane solution considering all of the factors. It's really complicated, but it's the most humane solution for everybody.
And if somebody, like in my neighborhood, sometimes I'll see a dog that is tied up on a very short rope, and you wonder, should you mention anything? I mean, it's not really your business, but you feel really bad for the dog. What is your take on that?
There are some laws in place to protect chained dogs. They actually have to have a minimum of 15 feet on the lead. And
the law says that?
Yes.
In Davidson County?
In Davidson County.
Okay.
And it varies county by county. And also, if they get tangled up, you can report that to animal control. They'll go out and check on the dog. I think on the second offense, they could get a ticket for something like that.
Oh, good.
They need to have proper shelter, which includes a floor, walls, and a roof, 3 walls and a roof.
Wow.
And access to fresh water all the time, and then they have to have fresh food daily. They don't have to have food out there all of the time, but they do have to be fed daily. And there's also some organizations that work to help chained dogs. Their Middle Tennessee Pet Resource Center has a biannual event that they do called Heyday. And they'll go out and do outreach to chained up dogs and educate the owner about proper care of dogs. They'll provide straw bedding for the dogs. In the summer, they do Made in the Shade, where they bring tarps to provide shade and water, and they give them toys. So it's an excellent organization that's doing a lot of work to help dogs that are kind of left outside and neglected.
Yeah, I see a lot of that in the poorer neighborhoods, and I just feel so bad, and I had no idea there was that organization too. Maybe I need to have them on the show too.
They're fabulous, and they've even done some fence building projects so they can get some of the dogs off chains and help them have a little more space to roam around in, and encourage the owner to really spend more time with their pet, walk them, give them exercise and enrichment in their life.
I have heard that some people are using a leash on a cat. Have you heard any of that?
I have. I think it takes a lot of training, but it's probably a very worthwhile thing. If your cat likes to go outdoors, at least it's a safe way. I think it works best when you start as a kitten and train them their whole life, but I think it's a great idea to have your cat on a leash.
Wow. My cat is a rescue kitty, and I got as a small kitty, and I never thought about it until way, way too late. She'd never tolerate it now. Wow. Well, Natalie, you have been so kind to bring yourself and our special kitty guest and explain how people can really help the feral cats in their neighborhood, help the doggies in their neighborhood. And thank you so much. And again, tell everybody how they can contact you again one more time.
They can go on our website. It's petcommunitycenter.org.
Okay.
And then also on our phone number, 615-512-5001.
Okay. Well, that's transitions. And remember, us humans are in transition, and also your pets, your dogs, your cats. And let's care for everybody. Thank you very much. Bye.